Todd, we are going live with another episode of Get Virtual, all about community collaboration and how that plays into tourism, which is really, really important, right? Especially because a lot of people know us as really kind of focusing in on the tourism demographic, but you can't have one without the other.
And that is so true. I mean, if you don't have that community and you don't have that strong place for people to visit, then there's not going to be a lot of tourism there, so that's very important. And we got some great guests coming on today to help talk about a lot of stuff. But I also want to point out a fact, we've been doing these Get Virtuals now for, I think, over a year now, Megan. This is pretty cool, huh? And we've done them from countries and different areas. So, I mean, really quite amazing, if you got to look at the positive side of the pandemic. And that's an alliteration that doesn't come up very often. The positive side of the pandemic, is that we've all been able to embrace these new technologies and new ways of doing and communicating with one another. So really amazing stuff. And I can't wait to find out all the new stuff today, especially focusing on Reno and the Riverwalk area.
Absolutely. So why don't we go ahead and introduce our first guest? That would be Brittany Griffith herself, the one and only. She is the do it all. She is the president of the Reno Riverwalk District, as well as many other hats that she wears. Thank you so much for joining us, Brittany.
Hi, you guys. I'm so excited to be here. So usually I get to come on and we talk about wine and tourism and travel and exciting things to do in the Riverwalk District. And today we get to do that and talk about my favorite charity of all time and nonprofit, is Nevada Youth Empowerment Project. So like Megan mentioned and Todd mentioned, having these two things and this community collaboration that we see, it's critical to making, the foundation of what makes a city great and what makes a destination great, right? You want to come to Tahoe, but that wouldn't be done and be as beautiful as it is without efforts Megan is doing. And we have a clean and safe downtown because we have an ambassador program that people have paid into with an assessment to give back to their community and make it a better place for everyone. And then when you go to a community and you visit, or if you're local and you come downtown, you can tangibly start to see when we have accountable functioning nonprofits that are helping people rejoin the ecosystem, rejoin our economic development situation, and just everything starts to look more cohesive instead of this scattered thing. So I'm thinking we're really starting to see in Reno this streamlined approach to which nonprofits do what and why and how, and then placing the people that are in need or the organizations that are in need in the right boxes. Because otherwise, sometimes we've got a bunch of chickens in the farm, and they're like, oh, we'll do it. And instead, right, well, let's focus on where everybody is most educated on and can really lead the charge in that way. And so now that we're kind of getting more into that focus, I think we're going to start to see some really big headways, which is something, the reason I sit on the board with NYEP for years now is because they're always accountable and transparent, and they get it done. Well, I won't curse and get in trouble online.
Well, I will say, and doing this show that we've done, and we had it from the deep and the real depths of the pandemic and the shutdown and everything else. The one thing that became really apparent, there's two things I noticed about everything going on the last year. One is art is really important.
Yes.
And number two, nonprofits get stuff done.
They do.
And it's really amazing because, they're there, they're the ones out there, on the streets, getting the things happening. And we so many nonprofits that were doing such amazing things. And some of these nonprofits started up really quick, got stuff done, and then disappeared. And others just keep on going and are really molding and moving things. And, if there's one thing that we really need to help show support to, it's those nonprofits and things going on.
Right.
Yeah. So, and plus, they get so darn busy, they don't have time to come on with us and do things.
Right.
So at the Riverwalk District, Courtney with Design on Edge and our board of directors is extremely supportive of the Nevada Youth Empowerment Project, has been since I took over presidency back in 2016. We love to work with them. We've used them as volunteers. We've hired some of the girls that we'll get into later. In my office here, we've collaborated with groups like Pharma Box, and we just have a great board of directors at NYEP. So getting to cross-align these things where, the NYEP girls aren't associated with the Wine Walk, but the Riverwalk District can bring, thousands of people down into Reno, showcase what we have to offer, and then partner with organizations that are just rocking it every day and they don't have time to host small, fundraising efforts because, a lot of times you need those big capital improvements, but keep funding and organizations, in the spotlight and in the community. This is a nice way to do it. That's fun. And that isn't what we're used to, grant, you hear a lot about grant writing or, big infrastructure fundraisers or galas, and we like to do the grassroots approach because it builds stronger and longer lasting relationships.
Right.
So the Riverwalk, whenever we reach out and to partner with people, we try to make sure it's something that's sustainable. Not like Todd said, sometimes people have a mission and they go right forward, but we like to keep it, to the groups that we know have been working and they have proven themselves and they have an ask that we can provide some help to. So we're not the end all be all because we're a nonprofit, but we like to, if we give back, we want to make sure we're partnering with nonprofits.
Love it. So why don't you go ahead and give us a roundup of NYEP and then how both the Riverwalk District are how you're working together to be able to really create a foundation for the community, especially those related to homelessness, right? And some of those challenges that many cities face, but might not be acknowledging it as aggressively as Reno is.
Right. Yeah, we have a microscope on us right now, I think, because we have so much opportunity that during our growth and then with this COVID, although it was a terrible shutdown, it brought a lot of things to light. It let a lot of people, perhaps find some funding that we hadn't before, new resources, and it kind of showed what collaborations are working and are true and how we can rely on one another to build up, which is all about what that Star Navigator piece is that you guys did. Who in the community, it wasn't big government bailouts and it was each other. It was, Granite Street up the street helping, and then Rube Urban over here, and Scott at Home Means Nevada, and Jacobs Entertainment here. Groups that came together and donated to causes that they knew would help. And that was not in a time of flourishment. People were about to lose their jobs. These were restaurants and restaurant owners and bar owners that were giving back to these, Feed Our Heroes and organizations like that, which was incredible to see. So I think moving forward, we're going to see more of that, hand to hand, true collaborative partners. And then also at the Riverwalk District, we've just chosen, everybody's hanging on to every dime right now. So we thought, what if we put our efforts and our focus into less pots and try to make a bigger impact with partnership we can. And so that Youth Empowerment Project is one that we wanted to do. We have a great, just a fun, charity trivia night about Schitt's Creek. That's this Thursday. You guys, there's like 3 tickets left. We're sold out. So if you want them, it's at Black Rabbit Mead. They are a wonderful group, and they're in the new Reno Brewery District. So get those. If you don't have tickets and you want to donate, we're going to get into some ways that you can help the organization directly today. But you're going to just start seeing more of that, grassroots trying to get out, be in the community, be present. People really want to help, they just don't always know how.
Very true.
Yeah.
Well, let's bring on our next 2 guests, and I'm sure there's many ways for people to find out how they can help.
They have all the best ways.
Yeah. So we got Marilyn and Monica, who from NYEP. Am I saying that?
NYEP. Yep. So Marilyn York is our
I didn't
president.
know which syllable I should accent there, but NYEP.
Yeah, NYEP.
Monica and Marilyn, they can tell us all the great things going on in NYEP and, and how that all works. So I guess, guys, we've heard a little bit about some of the things that Brittany was sort of talking, but, more specifically with NYEP, what do you guys think your major role and how you're helping people in the community?
I think Monica is the best person to address that, as she is the founding director of the program and the program developer and the mom of the house who is there on an everyday basis, raising other people's teenage byproducts, for lack of a kind way of saying it. So go ahead, Monica.
So we actually provide a housing-based program to young women that are between 18 and 24 who would otherwise be homeless, but they're willing and capable to make the most of the opportunities that come their way. So we serve a small niche in the continuum of care that Brittany was talking about. We have a microscope on right now. So we are identifying populations and what their specific needs are so that we can create specific approaches and solutions. We're just kind of, we created this approach about 2007. So almost 15 years ago. So we've been doing this specialized housing for a really long time. So we are experts. in this. And so we're excited to see the community building a continuum of care that we can be part of, so that people go to the right places, so that they aren't rejected or thrown out because they can't follow rules, or they can't stay sober, or they won't attend their mental health meetings. There's, conditions at each place, and our conditions are pretty strict.
That's incredible. And if I may ask, how or what have you noticed since 2007, right? With, let's just say the individuals, the clients, the women that have gone through and transitioned through your program. What have you seen over those years, right? I would love to hear about that, especially inspiring community leaders and you empowering them to that adulthood.
Man, I need you for like all week to tell you about it. Basically, what I've realized is that young people need more now than they needed when we opened. So when we opened, young people were closer to getting a driver's license, closer to getting that first time job. We have a lot more young people now that are out of work and out of school. We aren't getting better at this. We haven't been working on it. So we have a microscope right now on the adult population, but we don't have that microscope on the youth population yet. And the adult population is the larger population, but we do have 25,000 16 to 24-year-olds that are out of work and out of school in Washoe County. So we have a huge problem with not getting these kids into the mainstream. So you'll hear like from trades, you'll hear from all of the employers in town. They have open jobs, they have open training slots. The young people just don't want these opportunities. If you spend time on TikTok, if you have a young Gen Xer or Gen Yer in your life, you'll understand what I'm talking about, where they don't want to live to work.
Wow, interesting.
Sad to hear.
Well, I mean, is it or isn't it? I don't know. I mean, it is in the sense that no one really wants to pay for a capable person's basic needs. No, there's not a fund out there that's like, hey, I'm going to just do what I feel like doing today. And I want someone to, pay my rent. And that has not existed. And so we don't really understand where they're coming from with that. But they are of the mindset that they should not have to live to work, that the fact that they feel like they shouldn't have to do that matters. And people should listen to that. They are two generations that are failing to come into the mainstream. So at some point we do have to listen and try to figure out how do we get these to merge again, because we're missing each other.
Right. And Marilyn, if you could give us a brief kind of rundown of your involvement, right, being president of the board of NYEP and kind of what you've seen over the years, as well as how it plays into the Reno community now.
I have been board president, I think, since about 2012. I started becoming involved with NYEP in 2010. I met Monica after we both received the 20 under 40 award for RGJ that year. And our mayor, Hillary Sheevy, was the board president of NYEP at the time. She walked me up for my award and introduced me to Monica and the charity. I toured, and here I am. I've always been charitably minded, but I never was involved in a board in any way formally, and I certainly wouldn't be. I'm so not the person to warm a chair, except that this program and frankly, Monica are amazing. Like, I would never put the kind of time and energy I do into this charity, but for her being the person that she is. And the fact that the program's actually accountable. We track all of our outcomes. I see the daily successes. I get to be at the house whenever I want and watch the girls, succeed and see them come from really unfortunate past and get to know them and see them do really well. And frankly, the house is cleaner and more well conducted than my house. Like, the Beverly Hills rich kids are total jerks compared to what Monica's doing over there with some really problematic personalities. Like, if anyone's interested in knowing more about the program, I absolutely welcome you to tour. Certainly we'll mask you up because we have a house full of girls that are working. The pandemic has affected us significantly in that we keep the girls separately housed. That's one of the smart ways that Monica has dealt with the fact that we have a pandemic. We used to put 2 girls in a room, sometimes 3, but usually 2. And she's not doing that currently. So that limits our ability to house girls, but it's the safest way to handle it, just to keep, instances of COVID down. We're thrilled that girls are now eligible to get vaccinated, and they weren't previously. So we're going ahead and doing that to keep the house as safe as possible. But you probably won't be surprised to hear that we have a bit of a turnover there occasionally. And so we'll probably get half our girls half vaccinated, and then they'll wash out, because we don't tolerate any physical violence. We don't tolerate any drugs. We don't tolerate instances of alcohol abuse. Those are just program rules that are deal breakers, and we cannot allow them to perpetuate. Those are instant evictions at our program. And so occasionally we'll have to have a girl wash out, or these kind of girls just don't come back. They're not thrilled with the curfew, for example. And so we quickly screen what kind of girls will actually have a success rate in our program. And that's why we have a high graduation instance, really high considering the population. But I think it's just a really remarkable, effective program. The dollars go a long way to really make a difference in these girls' lives. And they're going to cost us $300,000 a year if they become incarcerated as a community. That's what the community doesn't understand. You can pay $25,000 a year to house them and have them become self-supporting members of the community, or you can spend $300,000 and put them in jail forever, or they'll become street people that become addicts and weigh more on the healthcare system. And these are girls, they get pregnant and they produce multiple generations of other kids and then adults that become, burdens on the system instead of contributors. This is a crucial population. It's a crucial time to make a difference. And this is the only program in town doing it for girls. And we have successes. Like I said, we track our outcomes. And that's why I put my time and energy and money. I mean, I give quite a bit of my money and my law firm's money to NYEP. So I invite the community to get involved. They can go on our website at nyep.org at any point and see what our needs are. We have a list of items they can donate, volunteer, options, and money. It's always money.
It's always money. Yeah, and we have a great newsletter that comes out. Monica put something together. It's great. You know how you get those newsletters in your inbox and you're like, ugh, gosh, and you just like spam them, but you don't want to spam them because you don't want them to know that you're maybe deleted their emails. This is not one of them. It's really well done. It's a nice way to see what the girls actually were doing and learning. Different organizations, mindfulness that they practice, community service practice. So it shows you how intensive the program is. And the reason it works is it's a housing solution that's really a home. So there's 24/7 staff that are really more like family. There are graduates that come back and help the girls. So there's community that is created that's truly like a family, which is if you were to go home, if I were to go up to my mom right now and say some stuff, I'd get, in reprimanded. And I'm almost 40. So, I mean, so that's part of it is the strictness of it is really a process in which we make sure that they're set up to succeed because we know where they are at in their spectrum of need and are we the right fit for them, which is kind of what I mentioned earlier. Who in the community can serve you best so that this isn't a check mark, run and done. We get some numbers to report. We are 100% privately funded. So we are not, negotiating numbers or making things look real pretty on a social media post so that we can get whatever, either brownie points or some sort of funding somewhere else. I mean, we have to be the proof in the pudding. Otherwise, we will not have founders and funders that come back. So that's what's really the importance of tracking like Marilyn's video. Here's where we are. Here's, where we've produced graduates, and that's a sustainable, true account of stories instead of some of the pieces you'll hear. You got to really get into the nitty gritty of things.
Yeah,
we're actually going through an external audit currently as well. Like they're auditing the true success of the program by an independent auditor, which there is probably no charity in town that's done that. It's very thorough. And we'll publish those results. We're not afraid of scrutiny and inquiry. And as it tells us we have holes in the program, because it will, we will make program adjustments to make sure that we meet the standard that actually benefits our population. We're not doing this to get brownie points. We're doing this to make productive members of our local community and help these girls further their own lives as well as the community at large.
It is really, really important that we help develop young women and women. Only less than 2% of donations go to women's organizations nationally, and those are to reproductive organizations. So we really don't invest in developing young women and girls, and we need to be more intentional about where we're giving our money. And like Marilyn had mentioned, we're doing a third-party evaluation right now because we want to know what works at NYEP and what doesn't work at NYEP, and we want to be able to share that and help other programs better themselves. It's really sad that we have 25,000 100,000 out of school and out of work, 16 to 24-year-olds, yet we are pouring millions of dollars into that population, and we're not asking questions about why aren't the outcomes better? What are we doing? It's
Right.
very scary when we think about the young people not coming into our mainstream, and the time to address it is not when they become addicts or when they're in jail. The time to address it, we are missing opportunities. We really are.
Well, I think that's what I was kind of hearing too. I think Marilyn hit it on the nail on the head when she talked about this is a very pivotal time in a young woman's life. 16 to 24. There's so much that can change in their life, from motherhood to some decisions can really affect your life ends up going very quickly. And the fact that you can be a bit of an intervention into that and hopefully guide them in the right direction is huge. So that is an amazing opportunity in that aspect. So sort of pay us now or pay us later, because you're talking about incarcerating someone costs a heck of a lot more than trying to correct those behaviors now. I would love to hear from either one of you, maybe an example. Obviously there's privacy things here, maybe an example of some of your favorite success stories you've heard from this, of turnarounds of an individual or a group of individuals. Do you guys have any sort of examples? Because this is a big part of the
of course, a ton of them. And Monica knows the girls better than I know the girls, but two stories come to mind. One was in the news years and years ago. The little girl and the little boy that were found chained to the toilet by their mother and grandmother in Carson City, and the mother and grandmother were incarcerated for it. And that little girl ended up growing up and becoming one of the girls in our program and successfully graduated. And she had the most horrific possible childhood we could even fathom. And she was a graduate. She went through the whole program successfully. And it took her a little longer than perhaps the average girl, but she came in much, much worse off than the average girl. And that's an absolute success story, to see her do well and be out on her own again and be able to help her brother that was found with her. And then another one is our shining star, Liliana, who we love dearly. And she's worked for the program for years. She's now having graduated with a dual degree from UNR. She has 2 degrees. And she works in the healthcare system at Renown Hospital. And she was a really helpful person in NYEP. We like to employ our graduates so that the girls have somebody on site they can relate to and that can tell them, I was where you were, and now I'm here. And they can see them every day. And that girl that works there knows exactly what they went through. And we have a current graduate as well, Nina, who works for us, who's amazing. And it's such a nice liaison. And so those are 2 of our really great success stories that keep giving. And one of the things Brittany touched on is that we're their family. We didn't realize that right away. Monica will tell you the first few holidays, she didn't expect the graduates to be at the dinners, but these girls don't have families and they don't have reliable families. And so they look to us as their permanent family. And so every year, Thanksgiving and Christmas gets larger, and it's awesome, that they keep coming back. And that's an indicator of their success. If we don't see them, it means they're usually not doing well, unfortunately, because not all our graduates turn out to be functioning all the time. And not all of the girls that, quote, fail the program and wash out end up failing life. Like sometimes the skills they get in just half of the program carry them and they wake up and they do well. And sometimes graduating falls short and they end up coming back through the program for another round, and we will take them back. They're actually more successful the second round because they know what they signed up for. They absolutely come in knowing what to expect, and that makes them more compliant and more successful. And so it's really cool to see the differences, and that's some of the evaluation stuff that we hope to see out of this third-party evaluation is what works and what isn't, and what are their successes that we didn't realize are important, and what are the places that we thought were important that aren't. We're a generation ahead. We're out of touch. We don't know what the world looks like anymore. We just hear about it. So it helps to stay fresh. And the people being interviewed are the girls that went through our program, hundreds of them. And so we have a lot of success stories, and we put those in the newsletter, and some of them are featured on our website. And we've done some videos that are really lovely and a really quick way to get a feel for the program, where a bunch of our girls are interviewed, and they're really candid, and they're on our website. So again, nyep.org is the best place to go. We have a Facebook as well.
That's powerful. This is really powerful. I think the next question is, how can we help? Right? Obviously money, right?
Always money.
Always
$5
money
will go a long way. We're not saying millions because it's a cumulative effort. The more people in the community that can give money, Regular donations are really helpful. So people on a more limited budget, if they just donate $20 a month or $25 a month, that makes a difference in volume. We'll take it. It's really helpful. Volunteer time and gathering, gifts at Christmas and that sort of thing are also great. Donations of meals at Christmas. We love to have classes at the house. We love adults that will come in and be an example and connect to our girls in a reliable and predictable way. These girls have had nothing but a lifetime of adults letting them down. So honestly, please don't come if you're the kind of person that's going to come so you can take a Facebook picture and never show up again. That's the last thing these girls need, is another person to like use them and then break their hearts. But please come if you have a skill or something you want to share. Teach them crocheting, computer programming, welding, how to change a tire. I mean, we teach classes, practically speaking, at the house, but cooking, baking, a Christmas craft. They love to make stuff. It's so cute. I've done quite a few crafts with them. But my mom is, so she'll like send me as her craft liaison. And so I'm as bad as they are.
The class is just a vehicle to get in and connect with the girls so that you can become a positive adult in their life. Young people require positive connections to better their life. It's just the way that we are. And these young people who really don't have reliable parents, and a lot of the adults that were positive in their life, they age away from them at a certain time. So if they had a foster care worker, that worker ages away from them at 18. If they, they age out of that relationship and they don't understand that. To them, that relationship is still there. They're counting on that person, but to the worker, your case closed with me. You kind of have to move on now. So we have a lot of that where we're trying to get, them to create connections with other adults. Sometimes we just plant seeds and someone else, they leave our organization and then somebody else is able to do something with them. Sometimes they had a lot of seeds planted by the time they got to us. We just had to do some work and they were good to go. They're all just on their own journeys, and I'm not exactly sure when they're going to have their moments where they kind of fall into place.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest takeaways for anybody that's watching is to be a part of an organization or something that you believe in. You don't have to have this obstacle of millions of dollars, like Marilyn said, to show that you're willing to come up on a regular basis, even if it's $5 a month or $10 a month. Or, you follow everything on social and you promote that where it can, or you get the newsletter out to friends and family and show like, hey, here's all the junk that you're hearing in the city. Here's somebody that's actually doing the work and they don't, maybe have time to be out and sharing this newsletter. I'm going to share it with you, give you a little bit of education and show you the different side of a coin, of which a lot of people see this coin of homelessness, particularly youth, as so negative. And this is a huge positive side of the coin, but it's just getting the word out. And again, being part of that family at the NYEP house and part of these girls' lives is a thing that starts today and can go on forever, or it can be a one-time donation. But there's so many ways to get involved. And I think it's a very scary thing for people to do. They're not sure. And if I sign up, are they going to text me all the time? Or do I have to call and are they going to, like political campaigns that we all dealt with this last cycle, and they're texting you all the time for $5 more. It's not like that. It's a very ease of access with a lot of rewarding things for yourself and the organization that you support.
Yeah, you can come out and clean the river with us. We go out and clean on Monday mornings at 11 o'clock. We work with the Karma Box Project. So we're out there every week. You could just come out and clean with us and hang out with us and just see what we're about. We also have an outreach.
Bring your teenagers. I mean, I'm a mom of teenagers, are ungrateful, spoiled brats. It's so good for them to literally see the other side of the world and actually give back. Like the poor girls in our program are required to volunteer, and all of our lazy kids who are fake Zoom school right now, get up, go to the river and help. They're all socializing anyway. Let's not pretend they're worried.
Oh gosh.
Right.
We also have an outreach team on Fridays. We go down to the river from 1 to 3. And Nina, one of our graduates, she works for us, and she also works for the Karma Box Project. She leads that team. She's a former foster youth who also lived in the streets as an ICP kid. So she comes from the background. And so we feel like we have a good team in the making out there. And so there's some opportunities to, if you're a professional, to really get out there on the river and start helping provide some of the work, which is basically just kneeling down next to people and letting them know they matter and helping them understand where they reach out to when they're ready to make a change.
Right. This is amazing information, guys, and I'm really quite impacted by it. And Marilyn, you brought up a good point. I was thinking in the back of my head, I've got a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 2-year-old, a little bit young right now, but all girls. So I'm thinking, this would be good when they get a little bit older to kind of bring them out to when they hit those teenage years and those ungrateful, I don't want to get up on a Saturday morning type thing.
Right.
It also teaches us how to parent. Like every time I go to NYEP, I'm literally a better mom. The key component to NYEP is accountability. And that's true for us as parents as much as it is for the kids. And so whenever I leave, I'm like, I'm so ridiculous. I'm not accountable. I'm not consistent. And of course my kids suck. You know what I mean? God bless them. They're good kids. It's really good. I mean, those are the side benefits that you get to take away while you're helping the community. So
that is the hardest part of the job. It's the hardest part is supportive confronting people who don't like to be called out. They don't want to be called out on what they're doing wrong. They don't want to have to do things they don't want to do.
Nobody does.
But it's, you have to call. So that part of our job is very hard. And we wouldn't be able to do it if we didn't operate like a home. And so the way we're set up allows us to kind of facilitate a relationship where we can start saying, hey, we need to give and take here. This isn't just take.
Right. And I can't help but think, bringing it back to tourism, because a lot of our foundation with Getaway Reno Tahoe, right, is related to tourists, right? But since the pandemic, we have really set this foundation for local support in the Reno Tahoe community, right? Being able to explore your own backyard, being able to learn about nonprofits that are doing incredible things, being able to learn about businesses you didn't even know existed, right? So to bring that kind of full circle, there has definitely been this taboo element related to tourism and only taking, right? You go to a location, you go to an area, and that's what you do. You take, right? And so there's just this shift now in reality related to, let's just say, trash and garbage in Lake Tahoe, and being able to be like, okay, this is a problem. We have to find a solution, and also creating awareness campaigns for responsible travelers, right? Bring it to Reno. The population, the community is being stretched, especially because of the pandemic and job loss and those elements. Homelessness is on the rise. This has to be addressed. How can you, as both a visitor and obviously a local, get more involved to support these organizations that are truly making such an impact, creating volumes, right? So we really, really, really appreciate you guys taking the time to share everything related to NYEP. And at Getaway Reno Tahoe, we really appreciate this transition and this step forward to bridge both these elements together, right? Community and tourism, because they're not mutually exclusive.
Yeah. Right.
Thank you for joining us one more time, guys. What's the website where you can find more information and know what's going on?
NYEP.org.
Yes. And we have events coming up. We have a big harvest festival, September 26th. That's family tournament ranch. So please join us for that. We'll be having a golf tournament soon and a lot of other events, and those will be posted on our site and also our Facebook page.
Yeah. So go follow us. When you log off, use the little Facebook link, click through, and then we'll remind you about our fun events. Our fall harvest festival is so fun because, and then this for Marilyn is being her own baby farm animals, right? to enjoy, but it's a really fun event. It's also family friendly. It's in the fall, so a lot of people will feel a little bit more comfortable, and we're feeling pretty confident that people are going to be very excited to get out and about and see each other in real life.
And shout out to the Reno Riverwalk District, right? You have a wine walk coming up at some point.
Yep, our wine walks are coming back, and as soon as we can start, every day the city lets us have 5 more people, we're going to add 5 more people. So each event that we have, we're just waiting to deal within the governor's restrictions and do the best we can with the county. But the city of Reno has been impeccably wonderful with their special events crew and making sure they know that our income stream comes from that. And without that, we can't work with NYEP. We can't do beautification efforts on the river. We can't hold family-friendly give back events like the Halloween hollows like we always do. So they were very supportive and kind and open-minded in getting us back on track, even though Wine Walk seems so silly and maybe flamboyant to be doing out during a global pandemic. We worked really diligently to get merchants on board, guests on board, the city and the other municipalities on board to be safe and make sure that we can not just do it one time, but bring us back online and contributing back to the city that we love.
Well, we'll always be here for you guys. Thanks a lot for joining us today, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Information and awesome stuff, and all the best success. Amazing stuff. Okay. I don't know about you, Megan, but quite impactful, and I think, we were talking about this before, that a lot of times people don't realize that community and tourism are so interlinked. If you had that community to visit, then you don't have the tourism.
Absolutely. Hands down.
So, and you can't just, it just doesn't work. So
right. Well, I think there's elements where when people go to visit a location, they just want to see the happy, the bright, and the sunshine, right? Not all challenges are negative, because challenges means there's a solution, you just have to find it. And so rather than turning a blind eye, you can be a part of it, right? And I really, really do think that COVID over the course of a year has really brought that to light, again, related to tourism, because communities also realize how important that is for them to sustain themselves, but equally how it can hurt and impact in a negative way if the foundation, the structure has holes. So, really, really incredible to hear about NYEP and what these wonderful community members are doing, and looking forward to learning more, and then how we can tie that in with responsible tourism.
Love it. Well, thanks again for joining us here at Get Virtual. And, if you have any ideas, go ahead and drop us a line. Let us know. We're always open to ideas and great things. If you want to be a show sponsor, let us know as well. We're always looking for that too. All right. Thank you for joining.
Thanks.